Hello everyone, and welcome to the second VBL-S Season 10 Alignment Chart Rankings. We are looking at the Sky Conference today, and I am your host, Mancini the Amazing, and I have with me the one, the only TuxMux. Please say hello to the fans.
Hello, how's it going?
Well, remember fans, if you don't want to be seen as impolite, you should comment down below how it's going, as our great friend has requested. So, we're doing an alignment chart of the Sky divisions, which are Tornadus and Thunderous, I think.
Yep, Tornadus and Thunderous.
So, we'll be looking at the teams sort of archetypally and judging whether we think that they play more towards a tempo game plan of trying to win in fewer turns, or a longer game plan of trying to get there eventually, win in the inevitable sort of run. And then whether we think the teams they have are top heavy, so we expect them to repeat using the same Pokemon 6 out of 7 weeks, or all 7 weeks, or wide if we expect a lot of their Pokemon to be staying on the bench, and to go on and off the bench. So, here are our first team is Captain BB Rafe. Would you like to take us through BB Rafe's team?
Okay, so first initial thoughts. This is a team. It's got a Murkrow, Prankster Tailwind. That's amazing. It's got a Slowbro, and it's got a Dragalge. It wants to work in either Trick Room or Tailwind, depending on who they're up against each week. And I think it's got some decent mons to try to make that work.
Yeah. So Cleavor, I think, is probably a mon which, while it is a Tailwind setter in itself, but with Prankster Tailwind is maybe less likely to be running it than on other teams. Then so it's a pretty offensive mon. It's relatively frail, so it and then Stone Axe is great for its signature move, which if it hits, it sets up the Stealth Rock hazard, so that makes other teams take hazard damage when they switch their Pokemon in, which is good for breaking sashes and oscillating pretty well towards a tempo or a very fast mid-range sort of team composition. What about Tinkaton? How do you generally think Tinkaton fits into this sort of team composition?
I mean, obviously, first off, you want to think of it just gain Fake Out. So gain Fake Out to either set up your Trick Room or Tailwind, or to try to just to hit them on with your opponent or with your partner, and just try to take something out early. It's really good for that.
Yeah, it can give you that positioning advantage.
With Gigaton Hammer, it can also do its own damage pretty well. For
sure. Though I think that the state of Gigaton Hammer, with the fact you can't use it 2 consecutive turns, I think that does index it pretty heavily towards a mid-range sort of composition rather than a tempo one. Whereas if you could hit them turn after turn after turn, you could slap a Choice Band on it or a Life Orb on it, and then just be doing that sort of consistent damage and fit it more into tempo. It's got a really solid bulk as well, with its good typing. It's an HP stat apparently. But the 77 defense and the 105 special defense can make it very capable of sitting on a field for multiple turns. We're also paired with Aquatoros. So people who watched my last season would know that this Pokemon is very good at using Intimidate to get extra turns to do a lot of damage with Wave Crash. And then also, theoretically, Close Combat, Liquidation, Body Press.
Yeah, also though with Tauros, you can just toss it a Life Orb, give it Wave Crash, and try to see how much you can one-shot it.
I don't know if I ever used Life Orb, but I know I did use Choice Band, I think twice. So Brambleghast is good synergy with Murkrow. I believe the other Brambleghast Murkrow, I believe the other team is also Brambleghast Murkrow. You set up Tailwind, it gets an attack boost. I know that it was another Prankster Tailwind setter. It gets an attack boost and it can do a lot of damage. I think it's really good in that sort of very high tempo team. And then the other team, you may see it run more like its singles set, where it runs like a bulky strength sap version and it plays towards the long game. I'm not sure if it necessarily patches up into a mid-range team unless that team is high tempo particularly well, but it is very good at both the long game and the short game.
Yeah, with Bramblegast, we haven't seen much of it, really. Even like in Series 1 when there was Murkrows everywhere, you'd think Bramblegast would make its appearance, but...
It does have a very bad matchup into Murkrow. Which probably contributes to that. Beyond that, round 6 Rotom Heat. It's never a bad time to get a Rotom Heat. Synergized pretty decently with Tauros. Then they got something they can Earthquake next to. Sorry, Disquake next to, though. 70 attack Earthquake. But good Fairy Resist. It has very good defensive synergy with Tauros because it checks the flying as well. And Tauros checks the rock. Then Toadscruel, it's Trick Room setter. It has access to Spore in a way that's very inconvenient. Its ability is just kind of...
But it does have access to Spore.
It does. It does. Trigolgi, very high damage dealer in both Tailwind or Trick Room, but it relatively reliant on speed control. Slowro Galar ignores speed control because of Quick Draw, Quick Claw. It's just kind of a mon. Ditto is funny. My favorite thing to run on Ditto is Quick Claw, which means it's competing for that with Slowbro, because then you can win speed ties in Trick Room or in Tailwind. Sorry, or in not Trick Room, in neutral speed. And FromSoft, it's a Wide Guard Pokemon, and it does good damage. It also made the Elden Ring.
When I look at Frosmoth mostly in my drafts, it really is just for Wide Guard mainly. But
it's Wide Guard on a stick, yeah.
Attack,
for sure.
It can do something.
I mean, this Stab Ice Beam, right? Stab Icy Wind. And it has that very good special defense stat as a result of Ice Scales, but Shield Dust for that like free covert cloak is pretty good as well. Alright. Oh wait, we have to decide where we think the team is. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's the Libertyville Luxrays. So, do you think this team is more top heavy, likely to bring the same Pokemon to 6 or 7 weeks, or more wide, likely to switch them up and not have any Pokemon coming more than 6 games a week?
I think the only 2 Pokemon that I would be convinced come every week are probably Rotom and Tauros.
Okay.
But
let's have both
maybe
of them.
Maybe Tinkaton. But just because of the fact that it wants to go either Trick Room or Tailwind, depending on the week and the matchup, it's just hard to see a Mon come in every week.
Yeah. Tauros and Rotom are probably their best Pokemon in scenarios that don't have any speed control. Is that the thought process?
It's more so kind of that. I think they both can... I think you can make Rotom Heat work in Trick Room, maybe. But it can work in Tailwind, definitely. And Tauros, I just think, is strong enough that even if it doesn't move first, it can still deal... You can still survive and deal enough damage. Absolutely.
It does do a significant amount of damage. And do we think that the team goes more towards tempo? I mean, we're thinking that's pretty reliant on Tailwind and Trick Room. You do have Tinkaton and Bramblegast. Without Pain Split, not really Rotom Heat. Back when I had Pain Split, I would say it. And then like Slowbro can run like a Calm Mindy set, or like a bulk up Tauros. But I would say this team oscillates pretty heavily towards a tempo game plan, right?
Yeah, it wants to... It knows what it wants to do. It wants to set up Trick Room or set up Tailwind turn 1, and it just wants to start hitting.
Yeah. And then in a later game, a lot of the Pokemon are liable to taking hits on one of their 2 defensive stats not particularly well. Tauros special, Tauros doesn't like taking special attacks, Bramblegast doesn't like taking special attacks, Tinkaton doesn't like taking physical, Trigolgi doesn't like taking physical. So you just kind of get to that, as Toadscruel as well, Frostmoth as well with physical. You get to that point where if you haven't gotten through your opponent's attacker, then they're probably getting through yours. So definitely a more tempo team, but definitely one to be wary of. Okay, now the Cincy Minchies, this time without me having skipped the previous team. That's a strong round 1 Mon.
Yeah, I am scared of Urshifu Rapid Strike.
I just realized they had their Fighting Psychic Dark and Water Fire Grass as the same set of 3 Pokemon.
With the same 3 bonds.
Yeah. I mean, I'd done that with my Fairy Dragon Steel. Good old Appleton. I was Appleton.
Got the Fairy Dragon too, or Fairy Steel too, but no Dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, well, obviously Dragons are the most droppable of Fairy Steel Dragon. In a similar way to how Psychics are very droppable, and Fightings are not as much. And Grass, I think, is the most droppable, because it resists to water. Water types do them pretty well. But yeah, so Urshifu, terrifying. Howl, Screamtail next to Urshifu, absolutely nightmarish to face. Corviknight.
I don't know if anything's gonna survive that.
What's right? Yeah, no, not much. Corviknight. It's also a Howl beneficiary.
It's very good.
It has Clear Amulet as an ability, but it's better than Clear Amulet.
Yeah, it gets to... You don't want to run Intimidators against Urshifu, because the Corviknight just it has its mirror armor.
Yeah, so you become weaker to close combat on top of the fact that Surging Strikes already ignores it. But then also, yeah, so... But you're fine running Intimidators if the Intimidator is a special attacker.
Yeah.
Now, Delphox, pretty reasonable damage. I think we were discussing one of the other teams who picked up Delphox in the other division. It's relatively fast, and it's pretty strong. Its coverage is okay. It used to be the only Pokemon with Mystical Fire, which is the special attack that drops stuff one stage. Less distinct now that it's a more broadly had move, and I think that Delphox does generally like trying to take better special hits better. So with Mystical Fire, definitely pretty usable, but so are the offensive sets. 114 special attack, especially if you get Blaze off, not bad. Magician is not a bad ability either.
It's...
Like, I've had a Focus Sash and then stolen an item before.
Yeah, that could be. I haven't played around much with Magician, so I can't really say much about it, but...
I think it's slightly more extreme on Hooper, because it has even worse physical defense, but it's an option. Also works with Citrus Berry, obviously. But yeah, I think Sash is probably the most extreme, because you get it on the in the action that activates the Sash. Same with Resist Berries. Brute Bonnet. This mod is very strong. It's got access to Rage Powder, it's got access to Spore. And it's not like this team is exactly weak to Bug at this point. Though it does have 2 Bug neutralities from all Bug resist types.
Yeah, with Brute on it, it makes me think this team wants to just sit on the field a lot with Brute Bonnet, with Corviknight, with Screamtail even, and just whittle you down slowly, hit you with spores.
Yeah.
Try to redirect you from the Urshifu with the Brute Bonnet.
I'd say this team, it doesn't look like a very tempo team as much as it looks like a mid-range offense team. I think a lot of it is about supporting offense or supporting late game win conditions, or even Delphox theoretically. There is immediate offense, but a lot of it is not going to be supported by another offensive option, especially without like Fake Out on the team. So you have Urshifu, can do a lot of damage on turn 1. Delphox does pretty reasonable. Loaded Dice Brute Bonnet. Some Muck sets can definitely do a lot of damage. Like a boosted Jolteon can do a lot of damage. Poltergeist can do a lot of damage, but the like Screamtail, the Corviknight, the Oricorio, they all kind of serve to provide some support throughout like a mid-range game sort of mode. So I'd say this is a very mid-rangey team.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. With
like a bit more long range, and I mean I think all of these Pokemon are theoretically usable. I don't think Sandile is going to come.
Sandile.
Like, I don't think it's going to come because they have other Darks, but I have seen people use Sandile and it's been okay. Because 72 attack is still very good. And, Krokorok is definitely better. And I don't think it lends high horsepower in this format, which also hurts, but yeah. Disquake! Because Sandal's Earthquake won't KO Jolteon.
Everyone has their own version of Disquake.
Yeah. I think this team is pretty top heavy, to be honest. I expect Urshifu to come every game. I expect Screamtail to come most games, and I think Brute Bonnet comes a lot as well.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really big surprise if Urshifu's not in every one of their weeks.
Maybe there's one week where your opponent only has 6 Pokemon that resist its dual stab. Maybe that week Urshifu doesn't come. That's about it. And the good news is that means that the other teams don't have those Pokemon.
That is true, yeah.
Alright. So, I think we're pretty settled on where we've got this team. The Phoenix Suns. This is a weird team.
It's... Yeah, I can't make much of it. It's obviously what stands out to me the most, Urshifu Single Strike, and then the Chi-Yu Darkspawn Lava Plume combination.
I think this is a combo, and I think this is a combo. Obviously Torn Tox is fine. Torn is pretty good into things that resist electric, except for other electric types. Urshifu kills everything. Chi-Yu kills everything. I don't understand why they both Chi-Yu and Stonejourner. I get that Stonejourner is then meant to boost Urshifu, but it's only a 1.2x boost. And the Pokemon has 20 special defense. I'm concerned that a Dazzling Gleam KOs both of these Pokemon.
Unless you click Wide Guard.
That's true.
That is one of the benefits Stonejourner has. It's one of the few mons that can't actually learn Wide Guard.
I think there are a lot of Pokemon with Wide Guard in the current format. There's a pretty broad number of them. Most teams will have, I'd say probably
Oh yeah, there's 15.
This one. So the previous format had a number of them, right? It had Armor Rouge was a big one. Iron Valiant was a big one. Gallade was a big one. Garganacl was a big one. I think we saw Crabominable use it last season as well. Hariyama used it last season. Pelipper used it last season. Then we've added in this Stonejourner. We've added Chestnut. I think we saw Tropius use it last season. I want to say Flamigo has it. I think I used it the previous season.
Yeah, Tropius and Flamigo have them.
And the Avalogs. Maybe something else?
Fully evolved, there's 16 that have Wide Guard.
Between 16 teams. I think that probably 12 out of 16 teams will have a Wide Guard user. Yeah, so there's something. This team feels kind of top heavy. I feel like Chi-Yu and Urshifu are what a lot of this team revolves around, and then Torn is going to be coming a lot. Maybe Goth. Goth feels like the next most used mon, and then I just feel like Darkspawn, Arboliva, Stonejourner, Samurott, and then theoretically Doug and Bennett. Sometimes are on the team, sometimes not on the team. Maybe. So this feels relatively top heavy.
My concern with this team, it's got a lot of mons that are mid-range speed. Doug Trio, Chi-Yu, and Tornadus are the only 3 mons above or at 100 speed.
Yeah, 2 Pokemon above 100.
Has no Tailwind, has no Trick.
It's got Taunty.
Does Tornadus have?
Yes. It's the best. One of the better Tailwind settings. Do you remember that Tornadus Eye has Tailwind, right?
Yeah. It has no Prankster Tailwind.
Yeah, it doesn't have Prankster, but it's 121 speed. So slower than Talonflame. Slower than a couple Pokemon. That's a lot worse in this format with booster energy Pokemon as well. So you're a lot more at risk of Torn getting KO'd. And then you've got Trick Room in Goth and Bennett, but I'd say it's mostly Goth. But then your Trick Room abusers are not the best.
It's
still Urshifu and Chi-Yu. Arboliva is a good Trick Room abuser. Samurott is pretty fast for a Trick Room Mon at 70. Like 70 is viable in Trick Room, but in this meta, it's a lot worse than last season when you didn't have the Regulation D Pokemon and they added in a number of like, you know, Enamorous Therian and ones like that. So, I'd say this team is pretty heavy into tempo, right? This team is like absurdly tempo.
Wants to get his hits, wants to go fast.
It just wants to click damage, and that's really all it's doing. Also, Taunty's signature move, Bleak Wind Storm, does have a 50% chance, I think, to drop opposing Pokemon's speed by 1.
It's 30, but yeah.
It's 30? Yeah, that's not as good.
Yeah.
The like, Hisway moves are all, like, random percentages. Okay, yeah, so 30% chance to drop speed by 1. So that is something. It's not nothing, but it's not a lot. It's Muddy Water, right? Slightly less accurate. The new Storm moves are like Muddy Water, but slightly less accurate.
Yeah.
They hit both Mons. That's slightly stronger,
just
less accurate.
A little more powerful.
Yeah,
I think Muddy Water's
85.
90.
Oh, 9085 is it?
I believe so.
Yeah, 9085. Yeah, so they're a little bit stronger, a little bit less accurate. But in the sense of like, how often do you feel like you're getting accuracy drops from Muddy Water? Not to mention Clear Amulet and Covert Cloak. So however often you feel like you're getting accuracy drops from Muddy Water, you're getting them slightly less often because of the accuracy with
because of the new,
Bleak Wind
new items.
Yeah. Alright. Yeah, well, no, I mean with Muddy Water like last season. But yeah. The Golden Goats, Jace. So Jace specifically only drafted Pokemon that were 15 points or lower as like a like gimmick theme genre.
Yeah. And it shows this is a team.
This is a very wide team.
I can see every Mon coming.
I can see every Mon sitting on the bench. You know, there's definitely going to be like there's a risk that there's just a game where their Trick Room, you know, is just obnoxious, and then Hatterene, Mudsdale aren't necessarily making onto that team. So then it's like, okay. Otherwise, I think Hatterene, Mudsdale, and Tauros come a lot. But I can definitely see them staying on the bench.
I can see, yeah. Of course, they have their own. Again, they have their own Disquake with Kilowattrel and Mudsdale. I'm
gonna say this is a pretty wide team. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's any team that's wide, this is probably the widest team.
There was another team that we had all the way at the end. Currently, I have this slightly less wide than a few of the teams in the other division, but not that much less. Beyond that, I mean, this team's damage is pretty good. I would say. So, what late game's pretty well in this team? Mudsdale is very much a phenomenal late game Pokemon. Basculegion late game's pretty reasonably.
It's amazing. I think it's pretty.
Gudra's a pretty good late game Mon. Taurus is okay there. Stantler is good at getting there. I'd say Orthworm's okay at getting there. Kilowattrel's pretty bad at getting there. Morgrim's okay for it. I'd say this team probably indexes pretty heavily on tempo. It's got a few options there, but I'd say that it's a bit more towards the tempo.
Yeah,
I feel like
I agree.
Other late game teams will like click Leech Seed against this team and then win. So like, or like they will like click Curse or Bulk Up or Calm Mind, and then this team will lose that matchup, which is. So I think that they index more towards that sort of tempo sort of thing. So the Skilled Snivies and Pygocentris. I have never seen this man in my life. Certainly not like 45 minutes ago. Okay, first thing I notice about this team is Disquake.
Always has to have Disquake.
This is stronger than my Disquake. I have regular Rotom with its 91 special attack, which is lower, and then Iron Treads, which it has less attack than Donphan, at 112 instead of 120. So really, this is just like my team, but better, right? Espion, pretty fast. A lot of frail offensive Pokemon. Manual Weather has proven to be really strong in the format. We've seen absolute killings from Manual Sun, and I don't see why Manual Rain would be different. Thundurus is both a setter and abuser of Manual Weather, which is great. While Bolt Storm in Rain is very strong. Floatzel in Rain is very strong. Overquill in Rain has been pretty good. And Basculegion is kind of insane. You get like the Thundurus Floatzel lead, you set the Rain up, and then do Wave Crash. Then you like click Thunder, and then they KO the Floatzel, then you bring Basculegion in, and it's got Wave Crash and Last Respects. It's pretty spooky. And if they have a Sucker Punch Pokemon, you bring out Overquill instead. This team seems very tempo, but very wide. Every Pokemon on this team is genuinely really solid. I think Thundurus counts all the time, but I think anything else can stay on the bench very easily.
Yeah, it's Thundurus and a lot of mid to high range mons.
I also did notice this. I also have Salazzle, and then I have Skuntank, where they've got Overquill, and then I've got Donphan Eye and Treads, which is funny. Now I have to remember. So I'd say this is a very wide team. I think Thundurus comes a lot, maybe slightly less wide than Jace's, but I think everything else can very easily sit on the bench. And it's
a team where
some Pokemon that are really good in like late game matchups.
It wants to click Rain Dance with Thundurus, and then do its thing.
Yeah.
But also,
it has no problem with clicking Eerie Impulse and Thunder Wave with Thundurus, and then just like stalling out a game.
Yeah, with something like Copperaja with Appleton, those are mons that can definitely take their time getting into a game.
I mean, Apple Acid and Leech Seed are both so just absurdly good. And then Overquill is a Pokemon. The one time I've played against an Overquill in Draft, it was a Chilling Water Sludge Bomb as part of like a late game sort of composition. It is 65 special attack and it beat me.
That is
because it doesn't need the damage. It just needs the. It just needs to sit there for long enough. Sometimes having access to Black Sludge is cool. But then like this team does also have a lot of tempo. I'd say this team fits maybe a little bit more towards the long game. No, it's got to be like right in the middle. It's so good at both of these.
I think, yeah. This is a team where it's gonna be so hard to prep against each week because it can.
Forget prep. Think about your lead matchup. The lead matchup is absolutely terrifying against this team. You have to run every item in the game. You know, you need to run. It's like, okay, well, if Thundurus Thunderwaves me, I need to be Lumberry. Salazzle goes for Fake Out, I need to be Covert Cloak. If Floatzel goes for Wave Crash, I need to be Utility Umbrella. You know, if Basculation goes for Wave Crash, I need to be Sash. You really just have to do so much against this team. It's very, very strong. Like, I think this team may sometimes lose game ones to their opponent's counter to their like lead, and then you just play differently with the exact same set of 4, and then win the game 2 because you have that information. Yeah,
it's a team where I can see it going to a lot of game 3s and winning.
For sure. Look at this game. Look at this like lead of just like I will just lead a Pokemon that has high special attack or like a Wave Crash. These are just 4 fast, strong Pokemon that can threaten KOs into Pokemon on your team. And that's putting aside all of like the rest of the prep of the game. Yeah, it's a very scary team. I think it's very wide, and it would be very difficult to prep for, but maybe somewhat difficult to prep with as well, because you have a lot of good options. Okay, the Wolfpack Welders, the late Torkoal. This team is very scary. Also, apparently Bombardier's name is Palafen's cousin. I think that is a remnant of a previous version of the doc. So what do you think about...
I'm kind of jealous.
What do we think about our non-manual weather team?
I wish I got Torkoal that late in the draft. But I think Torkoal with Cresselia, it's really good.
For sure. Torkoal with Fluttermane is pretty good. Torkoal with Scoville is okay. Jumpluff is really good. I think Bombardier is probably the best modern 4.
Yeah. Oh, I had Bombardier. I had it as my snipe of this draft, and I got so sad when it got taken before me.
It went round 9.
Yeah, but I I had a lot of things I wanted to take first.
Okay, but you prioritize. Like I looked at getting Bombardier. When I was looking at getting Bombardier, it was round 5. I was like, okay, I might get this round 6. And then I was like, yeah. And I decided against it because I was kind of weak to rock and electric and ice. But Bombardier is a really good mon, and getting it round 9 is crazy for 4 points.
Yeah.
I use this as in an Ubers league as like my defensive check to like 4 different Ubers. It's got really good bulk, and then its damage is really good because it's got a high offensive boosting ability in Rocky Payload, and then Keen Eye is good if your opponent.
Slide with it.
If it had defog, Keen Eye would be a superior check because you click defog and superior always switches in. Or I guess an Amorous now. Yeah, this team's pretty good. Berserker's a really good support mon. This team's Trick Room setter, Cresselia. Oh yeah, it's really good. I was like, is it Shuppet? No, it's Cresselia. Cresselia's pretty good. I say this team's kind of top heavy.
Yeah, it wants to.
I think the quality of loads are not very good.
It wants to bring Flutterwing most games. It doesn't. It does have a fast mode with Jump Bluff.
I think it has a lot of Pokemon which are like alternative Pokemon to like the other options. Like Scovillain, but Jump Bluff is better. Crocodile, Doug. These Pokemon, you never bring both of them to a game, right?
Yeah, no, they won't. I don't see why you ever bring Dugtrio unless.
See, that's funny because I'm thinking the exact same thing. Except I don't know why you would ever bring Crocodile. It's so fucking bad.
Oh, really?
Whereas Doug, you're like, okay, well my opponent has 1 Fluttermane check. I will lead Dugtrio, and if they didn't lead their Fluttermane check, I can get 2 KOs of Fluttermane. And if they did lead their Fluttermane check, I can switch out Fluttermane. Whereas Crocodile is just awful. It's barely stronger than Dugtrio. Dugtrio's 100 attack, it is 117. And it's much slower, and like, they have like the same special bulk, and its typing is worse. Why would you bring Crook when you have Bombardier? Also, no Disquake, 0 out of 10. Like, Scovillain is fine. But isn't Jump Bluff generally going to be more?
2 ground types, but no discharge.
No discharge. It does have like Cresselia you can go next to, and it can click Charge Beam. That's about it. Yeah, I think this is fine. I think this team is like not bad by any means. But I feel like a lot of the picks are just kind of filling similar slots, and then the team doesn't feel particularly wide as a result. Like I kind of expect these 3 to come every game, and then maybe Jump Bluff. Jump Bluff's quite good. And then in terms of tempo and late game, this team is very much in the middle. No, I'd say it indexes towards tempo, right? Fluttermane, tempo. Crook, tempo. Berserker, tempo. Torkoal, tempo. Doug, tempo. Scovillain. No, Doug can also go to late game pretty well, because it traps the thing that stops you winning at late game. Scovillain is... It does have the late game, like, moody sets, though I question whether they're consistent. And then Bombardier is pretty tempo heavy as well. So it's really only Cresselia, and then like Doug as a support mon and Jump Bluff. Though Fluttermane can do amazingly in late game comps because Fluttermane's broken. But I'd say this team indexes toward tempo.
Yeah, definitely agree. It's a lot of...
I will say,
a lot of tempo.
Based on my experience on ladder, Fluttermane is the best Pokemon for a Trick Room team to have. Fluttermane is the best Pokemon for a Tailwind team to have. Fluttermane is the best Pokemon for a Rain team to have. It's the best Pokemon for a Sun team to have. It's the best Pokemon for like high tempo. It's the best Pokemon for a long game team. You know, like I thought Urshifu was pretty adaptable because I found it was my best Pokemon on my like Psychic Terrain Rain team. But then I realized that actually Fluttermane would still just be better. Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty reasonable Pokemon.
Yeah.
Steve. Why do we let Steven get Tingler? I'm glad we're not doing power rankings, because I'd have to just put this team at the top. Yeah, so Tinglu and Dondozo, we had this in the other division as well. This is one of the best pairings in the game. These Pokemon are both impossible to KO and do really consistent damage. Arcanine is absurdly broken. Pairing Intimidate with Vessel of Ruin is pretty good.
Yeah, it just means no one can hurt you.
You just switch out Tinglu. Disquake. Fortress really does appreciate the extra special defense boost as well. Fortress is a really good Pokemon in this format. It is benefited so much from getting access to Body Press and Ice Spinner. It has like a really genuine offensive like sort of spread in the current format out of nowhere from being really bad in VGC for such a long time. And we stand Fortress being good now. Dragapult, it's just strong. Like you control when Tinglu is in, so you can run special if you want to. Or just like mixed with Draco. Indeedee. I don't know why it's invisible, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's got Trick Room. So does Articuno.
Yeah, everyone knows what Indeedee is.
I don't know. This is Indeedee M, so it's not got it's not the Follow Me one.
Follow Me.
But it's fine. It's got good damage, though I do think there's like a bit of crossover here, which is a bit confusing. I wonder what... like, Steve definitely had a plan at some point. Maybe it's just to run Psychic Seed on Tinglu. Because, to be honest, that sounds terrifying. It's like, is Tinglu living, banded, Urshifu, CC not enough? Swalot. The other Tinglu team also had a Swalot. Is there something I don't know?
If there is something, I don't know it either.
Okay. And then Failings, the best Pokemon in the history of competitive Pokemon, because you click close combat and it doesn't KO Tinglu, but you have the Tinglu, therefore it gives a weakness policy. Oh, Surf weakness policy Tinglu! Of course, I should have realized. Yeah, I should see if I can do that with Dragapult. I have one of those.
Does Dondozo get Surf? It does.
It does, but however, it's a water type, so it's got Stab. There was like a Surf Dozo set that I think Ray Rizzo was running, which was pretty good. So I'd say this team is very wide. I expect Steve to bring all of these Pokemon at some point. Hortelu Worm Adams. I expect all of them to stay on the bench at some point, except maybe Tinglu. So maybe it's not wider than Pygro's team, but pretty close. And this team indexes pretty heavily towards a long game, but obviously it can do fast game. You know, just Banded Tinglu, like a Life Orb, Rockhead, Arcanine.
Yep, you can run Band Tinglu, or you can just try to click Fissure 10 turns in a row.
Only 8 turns in a row, unless you're running Leper. Oh no, Steve's gonna run Leopard Berry. I lost a playoffs game against Steve once in season 8 because they hit 2 fishes and got the exact perfect outrage 50-50 2 games in a row.
Oh, no.
And like they would have lost if they had gotten the outrage hit wrong because it was in front of Klefki.
Oh.
Also, they fissured the Klefki. I should run Magnetize to counter Fissure.
Yeah, I saw in another league I'm in, I saw a playoff match. It was like 4 out of 5 fissures hit over 2 games. It's...
To be fair, I think they clicked 6 fishes and hit 2, which is only slightly above average. It was more the outrage that tilted me. And look, would you look at that, Fissure and outrage.
He's playing. That's what he's planning all along. He just wants to do it again.
I'm glad that I'm in the opposite division, so it would have to be grand finals. Okay, last team in the division, the Pittsburgh Pawniard. It's an interesting team from Void.
Yeah. I want to first off say Gallade for MVP.
Gallade is an absurdly broken Pokemon, and Sharpness really made it way too strong. Just absurdly strong. how do you have these top 5? How does any team beat these top 5 and then like either Cinderace or Knucklestack is the 6th one? Or like Toad School, I guess. And you know, it's not like Fletchend is unusable. Like, this is a really scary team. I think it's a very top-heavy team. Very, very top-heavy team. Like I expect probably 4 of these 5 to come every week. If not 6, 5 of them. Like, maybe there's a week where one of them doesn't come, and then it's like Cinderace and Knucklestack. You know, maybe this is a week. Maybe against the Sun team, this is what happens, right? And you know, maybe I'm underrating Cinderace. Maybe some of them will stay home. I just have favor of Cinderace. But like, this team feels super top-heavy.
Yeah.
And it's got both tempo and long game, but I would say it indexes pretty heavily on tempo, right? Moltres is a phenomenal long game Pokemon. Landorus can do it pretty well. Scizor and Goldengo are both okay, though I found Goldengo to not do long game very well when I had it.
No, it wants to be there. Click it, just click Make It Rains.
Once click Make It Rains, once click Shadow Ball. Last Plot just doesn't do it that much. Or like Terra Dazzling Gleam. Yeah, Gallade, Knucklestack, Cinderace. Maybe Cinderace is also better than I'm thinking. But yeah, I don't expect Fletchend to come that much. I expect Knucklestack to probably mostly be the last one. Maybe Toxapex, if like you really need Toxic Spikes in a week. Though, what, against Bulky Waters, I guess? Yeah, I guess these mons don't love Bulky Waters that much. But it's not like... And Landorus either. So yeah, Knucklestack and Toxapex are there to check Bulky Waters, and then everything else is just to do damage. So, pretty tempo. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no? Or do you want me to change where it is?
No, I think I agree with that pretty well.
Okay. Well, that's one of our divisions down. Let's get on to the Thunderous division. The Grandma's Togekisses. They got 2 of the Hisuian starters. I wanted to do all 3 Hisuian starters, but Typhlosion went round 2.
Yeah,
so I only
first off, I think I want to nominate
a lot of
this team
Hisuian
for
ones.
best logo, best name. I think it's great.
It's not a bad one. I don't know if it's the best one this season. It's definitely been like a good one. There are some good logos, but I quite like the Crazy Cat Cramorants as well.
Yeah,
I like how the Paldean Pancakes hasn't changed from last season.
Oh, it just hasn't updated their logo.
Yeah, they renamed the team but didn't update the logo. Okay. So Ursaluna's insane. And then what? Mesprit, Noivern, and Amorous. Magnetize Klefki. Electric. Trick Rooms. Tailwinds. Aquajet Colossal. I mean, you just do damage with Ursaluna and win the game, right?
Yeah.
It feels like they have a lot of other Pokemon that, like, mostly just serve to facilitate Ursaluna. Screens, great for Ursaluna.
You want to get your guts off and then just start wrecking house.
You just side Wisp. Who needs? You can run Citrus Berry that way. You could even Terra and side Thunderwave. Grandma's Togekisses, it's a bit top heavy. It's not crazy top heavy. It's got a lot of different Pokemon. Like what? All of these Pokemon we've seen either new Pokemon, Typhlosion, Decidueye, and Amorous, and Mesprit, and every other Pokemon we've seen come to games and put in work.
Yeah, I saw from the grand final stream last season what the Shellos can do.
Shellos very good. Electric very good. I think not Cole. I don't think we actually saw do anything last season. I take it back. Yeah, Mesprit, Decidueye, and Amorous all fine. Typhlosion hopefully good. It went in round 1 twice, so. And I would say this is relatively mid-rangey, a bit leaning towards tempo. Right?
Yeah, I'd agree.
Because it's really only Ursaluna, which is getting Okos on this team, or maybe like a Strongjaw Bruxish.
Typhlosion. Typhlosion could.
It can. I mean, I feel like you kind of want to like click Eruption and then like a spread move next to it or something. It's got 119 special attack and it's not that fast, and it's only really got Eruption that's strong. At least next to Bruxish, they can't click a priority move to blunt the power of it. But I feel like you mostly just kind of run it as like a, I'm doing 70% to both of your Pokemon if they don't resist, and then like 30% if they do. Rather than a, I think this can get Okos. It's good for game speed, but I think more mid-range than anything else. It's not like a bad mon next to Trick Room, because you like lead it to get that damage off, and they're incentivized to punish it, which means that they then are not attacking a Trick Room setup. Okay, the Apex Alola Marowak and Ray, the current champion. Round 1 Weavile.
Back-to-back champion, I believe.
Back-to-back champion, yes. Poppin and Ray are the current reigning champions.
So yeah, I was surprised by the round 1 Weavile.
Well, you know, it's Chien-Pao. But we it's quite cheap. I considered taking it, but I didn't take it. So they've got a lot of strong Pokemon around it. Hey, look, it's Chien-Pao Dragonite again. You know, Terra Normal E-Speed and the. This team is weird.
It's. Yeah, I can't.
I don't know what it's supposed to do.
If I can find the synergy on it. It's a lot of mons that. A lot of mid-tier mons that are strong and can do a lot of damage, but
you see, Chestnut is weak to several types, and Rotom and Skeledirge resist all those types.
Yeah,
that's about it. That's all I've got. I'm very confused. I think Ray is cooking. I say we let Ray cook. I'd say this team seems like it's going to bring Skeledirge and Landorus a lot, and probably Rotom as well.
I have no idea.
Regidrago's good.
About the Regidrago.
Oh, I think Regidrago.
There's not much to. I mean, I know it's good, but there isn't much to be able to facilitate it.
2 Tailwind Centers.
Yeah, but they're not that fast.
No, they're not. The Tailwind Centers. Skiploom is a really good Pokemon. 80 base speed, Tailwind. Dunsparce, 55 base speed, Tailwind. Skiploom is a very good Pokemon. Last season, I had a Hoppip that lived. Well, it was Covert Cloak, and it was designed to live Fake Out into Moonblast from Boost Rangy Fluttermane.
Ooh.
It was not EVO Light.
That's cooking.
Skiploom was a lot bulkier than Hoppip. 55, 50, 65 is pretty good. It's definitely better than 35, 35, 45.
Yeah, how does that Hoppip live on Moonblast?
Max HP, max FNF, my friend. I mean, it wasn't max. I had some speed as well, but yeah.
Wow.
Covert Cloak.
That's impressive.
They then brought like a weird Terra Steel defensive set with sub. It was a bit confusing. Hoppip.
That's the worst when you cook something and they don't even bring what you're cooking against.
I won the series, so it was fine. Hoppip didn't wind up doing that much, but it's fine. Yeah, I don't know. I think this team, these 3 Pokemon come most games, and I don't know what the rest of the team is doing. So I'm gonna say it's kind of in the middle in terms of width. And I don't know what its game plan is, so I'm just gonna leave it in the middle.
Yeah,
I guess it doesn't have a lot of late game.
I think you put it a little towards wide. I think.
I don't know. I expect half the team to come every game.
Yeah.
That's not super wide, but I could be wrong.
It's true. But then, yeah, the other 3 spots can be any one of them.
So yeah, I think it's kind of like here, but yeah, I really think we should let him cook.
I am a big fan of letting people cook.
NorCal know that. This is just a ladder team, but the Fluttermane is a mischievous.
Yeah, it's hey, we have Fleur main at home.
It's not like Mischievous is bad or something. You know, like Mischievous is quite good. This is just a ladder team. What the heck? How did Casey get this? I swear, I've lost to this exact set of 4 on more than one occasion.
Oh no.
I hate Rillaboom. Rillaboom is so... I found Fluttermane, then Rillaboom, and then Urshifu to be the most oppressive Pokemon in terms of trying to use weird Pokemon in the format. Rillaboom just ruins everything. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's too strong, and it's grassy terrain, removes psychic terrain, and electric terrain.
At least it doesn't have grassy glide anymore.
Yeah. Oh, Rillaboom last gen? I think that Rillaboom... Last gen Rillaboom is probably better than any of the currently legal Pokemon. And if it's not, then the only other Pokemon that would be better than it would be Fluttermane. But it's probably better than all the currently legal Pokemon.
I don't want to live in a world where...
They did nerf Grassy Glide.
Rillaboom. Yeah, I don't want to live in a world where Grassy Glide with Rillaboom goes up next to a Chenpao.
It's fine. Your Rillaboom will win the tie. I remember last gen, there was like in the Ubers format, it was like, okay, it didn't matter what 2 restricteds you had. You always had 2 of Rillaboom, Grimmsnarl, and Incineroar, and often all 3. And if your team didn't have those 3, your team was a bad team.
Yeah, you just
or like hard Trick Room, and then it still probably should have those 3. Like, just so oppressive. This team feels awful to play against. I hate playing against it on ladder, and I feel like in draft it'll be better. Moltres and Cloyster are very good. Venonat might come, but Mischievous is so much better than Venonat. Maybe it's a Sash Venonat, but Mischievous is one of like a really phenomenal Trick Room setup. You know, it's not exactly Dusclops, but it's shockingly close to it. This team doesn't have a ground type or an electric type, so no Disquake.
Yeah.
I think this team is going to be very, like, it's a pain, but I feel like this team is very top heavy. Like, putting aside the fact that these 3 Pokemon, these 2 are not real at all, and then Venonat's only sometimes real, and then, you know, you want to run Terra Grass against Rillaboom anyways, right? Though maybe not against Neithra and Salamence, or Moltres, or Cloyster. I don't think this team is going to be fun to play against. But it feels very top heavy.
Yeah, no, super top heavy. It's... Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly late game, but it's got some tempo. But like this late game duo, like trio, these 3 Pokemon, just impossible to beat with like a lot of the random gimmicky mons, and they're not also loose to Fluttermane. Which is why it's these 5 and Fluttermane, not Mischievous. Yeah, then you've even got like Perish Song in a late game, because you just have like the early game, oh, I will use Rillaboom and Sneaslet to get 2 KOs, or Rillaboom and Salamence, or Rillaboom and Cloyster, or Rillaboom and Moltres, or Rillaboom and like a Specs Goodra, or Rillaboom and a Choice Band Grimmsnarl, and then yeah, just it's Jova. Yeah, I think this is why the team sits.
Yeah, it doesn't. There's not a lot it can do quickly. It just wants to like outlast you. Really.
No, like it can do a lot of damage. All these, you know, Rillaboom is one of the strongest Pokemon in the current format.
Yeah.
It's got
at its best.
It's got a Wood Hammer with Life Orb, like 120 base power move with the Life Orb as an ability, combined with like a good attack stat, and then you can run an item on it if you need to. And like Salamence has insane damage up front, and then Sneasel has insane damage immediately. Really, and then Grimmsnarl's got 120 attack and good stabs, and then Goodra's got what's his special attack stat again? 110. Not amazing, but Draco's pretty good. And then Moltres with its 125 special attack. Cloyster's Icicle Spear is one of the strongest, like a very strong immediate attack. I think one of the strongest ice attacks in the game, not run by Iron Bundle. This team is very immediately strong, but then also strong in the later game. It's really awkward to play against. I would not be shocked if like Casey came like top 2 seed with this team. Pittsburgh Pickplops. Isn't that the second Pittsburgh team we've had?
It is.
There was another
The Pittsburgh Conyard.
They should meet up. Actually, I know that we have several coaches here who do know each other in real life. So it's possible that that's one of them, but I don't know. This team feels really hard to kill. This is like hard to kill land. And then like screens, friend guards with rage powder, grassy terrain for recovery. It's quite good. And then Faradroth is, well, as we saw in finals last season, Faradroth is not hard to kill. But it, it does exist.
Yeah.
It's not like it's probably harder with Wochian than without. And then like Glastrier with Terra, I think like a Terra Electric or something in Glastrier will make it really, really good because it's got very good bulk. It's just that it's an ice type.
Yeah, ice type automatically brings it down like 30 base points on defense.
Oh yeah, so yeah, maybe very good. I think it's mostly the special defense that it was quite bad into because like you get hit by every fire move. Yeah, I think this team's pretty scary, pretty intimidating. This is kind of like what I wish my Gastrodon team looked like. Yeah. My Gastrodon and Amorous team, basically the same team. Yeah, I think this team is pretty top heavy. I think like
I would.
This comes every week. Wochian comes a lot of games as well.
Top 6 is really likely to come a lot of weeks. There is.
I think one of these two teams, and then maybe one of these three. It's either the top 6, or you drop out either Wochian or Faradroth for these three, and I can see even two of these two coming to a game, right? Because you run, maybe you put it like an Impidimp, and it's got light clay on it, or you run like Spoop is fine. Maybe Electro comes once. I don't expect Farum to ever come, though I do think it has a very strong ability in slow start. Yeah, Faradroth is very good. Maybe it comes to those 5 games, but Wochian is a flawed Pokemon that you do occasionally leave on the bench. So I would say this team feels incredibly top heavy. And then it does index more towards a long game. Incredible long game Pokemon, incredible long game Pokemon, incredible long game Pokemon. And then, like this is like the fast game, and like what, you leave Faradroth with Impidimp? So that you can imprison their imprison to stop them in sending Trick Room, because that worked so well with Grimmsnarl. Yeah. I mean, I think you leave Wochian with Faradroth and then hope that lets you get Trick Room up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Oh, this is the fast Amorous.
Not. Yeah. Yeah, which is unfortunate. If it was Therian and Amorous, it would be really,
well, if it was Therian, this team would only have one Pokemon over the speed of 70. Over the speed of 80. Right?
Yeah. So it is good to have.
It's good for longer.
For variance.
And if the opposing team clicks Tailwind, you can use it in Trick Room. Or if they have like a booster speed Paradoxmon. Okay, Goose. Hoppip. The hard counter. Also slaking with Algrafire because we have a Man of Culture. This team feels pretty wide. I think the worst Pokemon on this team is Quagsire, and it's also this team's only ground and only water type, so it's probably going to come to games.
Yeah.
Did not learn his lesson from last game, having two booster Pokemon. Because he had Iron Treads and Iron Moth last season, and was often wanting to run booster on both.
Yeah.
Iron Hands can very easily not run it. And Triculus.
It likes running Assault Vest.
Sure, that's totally what I found in my season with it. I didn't only run Citrus. And Plum.
Yeah, Citrus.
It's got a lot of good items. As does Iron Triculus. You can run other offensive items on it, so that you can still run speed, and you can run a Covert Cloak. Covert Cloak's definitely a thing that it does not mind running. Yeah, Duskrock really strong, Typhlosion really strong, Bronzong really good, Trick Room synergy. Like the Iron Hands is a really good in a similar way to how Flutter Main. So like Flutter Main is good in all different speeds of game because it's just broken. Iron Hands is just genuinely good at all of the speeds of game.
Yeah.
Because it's so bulky and it's so strong.
Yeah.
So I think
plop into.
Yeah.
It can plop into any team.
This team's very versatile. Like Sylveon as well. Really good immediate damage, but really good later game as well. Miss Mag was pretty decent for reasons discussed in the other video. I guess Quag is only really good in a later game. Slaking is weird. I don't know whether I would say it's good in a short game or good in a long game. It's good in games. I'm worried about it, but yeah. I say this team's probably a little bit more towards long game, though it does have a decent bit of tempo. And then it's pretty wide. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I agree.
Cuckoo, cuckoo. Slushy.
I thought I had something to add, but.
Add anything you would like to. Do you think that slacking is secretly? Does Miss May just get simple beam? Is that the strat?
I am not a huge fan of slacking. I'll say.
It was pretty cheap.
I think. Yeah, for being cheap, I think it can put in work. But I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it.
I mean, like, you can just click an attack and then switch out, right? It's not Regigigas where it doesn't do any damage with anything but body press. It still has 160 attack, and you can just click double edge and then switch. If some people also play around it by clicking protect with their Pokemon. So if this is a Pokemon which by switching in is the same as like having fake out every second turn, that's okay.
Yep.
At least it looks super effective moves. But
I just think
it's flawed mod.
The 160 attack feels kind of fake to me because
you don't find it getting Okos?
I just feel like it won't ever hit something for stab and for super effective unless you use a Terra on it.
I mean, I've definitely seen people use Terra on it, right? But so
yeah,
of course it's the 1v1 set. If we just look at like what the banded double edge does, because I don't think we expect it to click outrage on account of the fact that would make it like switch moves. That's level 100 of Omstar. But like, what's just like a random, somewhat tanky Pokemon? Like, let's say Florges. We make Florges level 50. Oh, look at that! That's a max defense Florges. It's getting OHKO'd by double edge.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think that's what slacking does.
I feel like...
I don't think it's amazing. I think that it does have some use cases. There are a lot of teams which are weak to normal.
Yeah.
If you don't have...
Yeah, just a bunch of stuff that doesn't resist or doesn't have a lot of ghosts.
I mean, look at this team, right? Both of their normal resists... I guess there's like Lycanroc. Yeah, both their normal resists are taking damage from Dark. I believe it gets Dark moves as well. Yeah, it gets Throat Chop. And Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch is kind of good.
Sucker Punch is funny. It's not good. But you know, like Bronzong's a pretty good Pokemon, right? I think most would agree. You know, it's like, obviously this is their team, so I'm not really giving much of it, but Slaking is very capable of getting KOs and threatening teams that don't have good normal matchups. So I think it is reasonable in this team. I also think we're probably over-indexing on what is a relatively low-impact Pokemon, but we haven't really talked about like Sylveon much.
Yeah.
Sylveon's very good. Dustrock is quite good. Mismake is quite good. Hoppip is a great support Pokemon for Iron Hands. I've been using it with Jumpluff, and the difference between Hop-Up and Jumpluff is something, but it's not everything. So we already did this team.
Yeah.
Dawning Dragonite. Oh my gosh, would you look? It's race team, but then they got a Palafin for some reason. I don't know why this team is Palafin.
You're talking with Casey's team about seeing it on ladder. We've definitely seen this team on ladder.
I feel like I have not seen any of these Pokemon. Team Paldinite, Arcanine. If you've been seeing Palafin with this team, I recommend you direct them to get some coaching from like Paul Ruiz or something, because Palafin is very much a draft mon, and then it's still like a flawed draft mon. So like this is the best possible use case for Palafin, right? You've got Amoonguss and Cyclizar, and then you also have like Arcanine is another okay Pokemon to switch in with it, and like Chien-Pau's a Pokemon that likes switching out, so you can bring Palafin into the Chien-Pao slot. We'll see whether this is enough to make Palafin good, though I feel like this is just going to be the scary thing, and even like a Breaking Swipe Cyclizar, it's a lot normal. Remember how I was talking about teams that Slaking are good against? Look at this team's normal resist.
Yeah. It's
Terra Steel D9.
Yeah.
Do you want to see how much Dragonite takes from So this is with multi-scale. So
oh my god.
If we go to 165 HP.
Yeah, that's a dead Dragonite.
That's a not to mention let's see, we go back to 166 HP, right?
Yep.
Sort of ruined through multi-scale. There are definitely teams where Slaking can come. It's a very like tech piece, but it's not a bad one. I think it's very funny that we immediately run into a team which has no normal resist. So yes, I think it's fine. I wonder what Amoonguss takes as well. Amoonguss, I think most people would agree that Amoonguss is a fairly physically defensive Pokemon.
Yep.
Look, it lives a double edge without Terra. All you need is like they have to click Icy Wind with their partner Pokemon, and you know how hard it is to click Icy Wind? Yeah, it's funny. So yes, I think that this team, I do think this team is very scary, though I think it maybe misses some of the stuff that made Rays so scary last season. Like, it feels more like a Palafin team that they threw Chien-Pao D9 on than a Chien-Pao D9 team. But we'll see if it works. It definitely can work. Then what did I think this was? It is pretty top heavy, right? I don't think you expect Gabite to come much. I don't think you expect round 6 Ice-Q to come much. I think you kind of expect
that's a very value pick.
These 6 to come most games. Raichu can come, Zangoose can come, Raboot can come. I had a Gabite, it never did anything. Like every time I tried to bring on a team, it just wasn't doing it. I think mostly because they didn't have like a ground immune electric type, and they don't either. So pretty top heavy team. How tempo do we think this is? Very, very, very high tempo. Like it's not all the way at the top because it does have Palafin and Amoonguss and Cyclizar, I guess.
It will.
But look at this tempo. Like this is like a mid-range sort of tempo. Sorry, you were saying something?
No, I 100% agree. It wants to be doing stuff really fast with Chien-Pao and Unite, and the Palafin does slow it down a little, but it is still a pretty tempo team.
Yeah. So J-Star. The crazy Cramorants. Was I incorrect?
With what?
I don't know. Sorry, my brain is just dying. Indeedee Armarouge, really strong combination. Meowscarada is a Pokemon. Zapdos Claw is pretty good. I did a video with it, you should watch it.
Ooh, I might have to after this.
Oh, that was meant for the people in the audience, but you too, yeah. It's Altaria and Zapdos Claw. It's pretty good. It had really low viewership, and I'm not sure why. I think this team in general is quite... Like, it's a lot of good Pokemon. But I don't know whether the team is good. So... Like, this is the Tailwind setup? It's not a terrible talent setup. We've got 3 really good Trick Room Pokemon, but I don't know why we have 3 of them. And then Clodsire is pretty good at beating opposing Trick Room and then like being like a pocket Trick Room mode, but I don't know if it's good being in a full Trick Room team. And Magnezone is in a similar sort of situation. It's fine though. This team is like pretty hard to hit well.
Yeah, it's a pretty. It's a team. It wants to be in Trick Room most of the time.
I feel like the main problem is that Tatsugiri doesn't learn Scald. I feel like if Tatsugiri had Scald, this team would be like, I feel like fairly confident about this team, but there's just no accurate water moves in this format.
Yeah.
Unless you have
Tatsugiri Dondozo even more though.
Would this team appreciate Tatsugiri Dondozo? I mean, for one thing, Dondozo would go on before they took Zapdos, but like,
yeah.
Do they care? I mean, Tatsudozo would make a new mode.
Yeah.
That's really about all I can say for it. It would make a new mode. I don't know, it feels fine. So where do we think this team? I think this team's pretty top heavy. Can't expect these 3 mons to come most games. Not crazy top heavy, but it's possible that they only bring like these 2 games. Maybe not even Claude. Maybe not Tatsu. Like, if only these 6 Pokemon came every week, I would not be shocked, and I would also think that they could win games with that. Team's very tempo. The team's bulkiest Pokemon is Magnezone. Or maybe Indeedee. But I think it's Magnezone unless you run Psychic Seed. Oh, Claude. Sorry. Claude. But when I ran Claude on Trick Room, it was pretty offensive as well. I was like gunk-shotting Sylveons and what have you. Depends on how they build it, though.
Yeah, it wants to be clicking Expanding Force every time with Indeedee Armor Rouge, just to be getting a lot of damage off early.
They drafted all of the dark types so that their opponents will not be able to switch in their dark types.
Yeah, with the team being top heavy, it feels like the only way Indeedee or Armor Rouge don't come is if it's against a team with like 2 or 3 dark types on them.
I don't think any of these teams have had that many. I think, did the Chiyu team have multiple dark types? Because Grimmsnarl team doesn't. The Wochien team doesn't. Oh no, yeah, this Weavile team? No. I don't think any of these teams have multiple dark types. Obviously, if you have a dark type, you can just tear the other Pokemon into dark type. Oh, Quillfish and Jogulus. And then this Qianpao team didn't have multiple dark types. So, you know, so far, unless the last team to look at has multiple dark types, unlikely to be a specific concern, but it is something that's altogether a concern if they have a dark type and the other one tears. Or if they just click Snarl.
Yep.
You have thrown Claramel and Armor Rouge a lot when I had it. It's much better with Indeedee than without, though. I can say that for sure. Yeah, I think I'm pretty fine with where we've put this team. It's got a much wider spread than the other Earth Division. Sorry, you were talking.
No, I'm just agreeing with where you put it.
Okay. Now onto the last team, the Pancake Mix. From the famous video, how the Pancake Mix is made. Do you want to run us through this team?
Well, first of all, it got the Tornadus, so very versatile mon. It can do whatever it wants with Prankster status moves. It can click Bleak Wind Storm.
Yep.
It can pretty much do whatever it wants, and then it just loads it with some mid to high tier mons, Excalibur, Hariyama, Samurott, and it just wants to. It's a lot of bulky mons, I will say.
Yeah, it's a lot of Pokemon that you would expect to take like 70% from a super effective stab move.
Yep.
Or get OHKO'd by by slaking. Yeah, like this team feels mid-range to long game, very much to me.
Yeah.
Like around here.
Which it feels a little off, I think, with Tornadus. I feel like Tornadus wants to be clicking tailwind, be clicking weather.
Yeah, but I feel like you can very easily sit in that sort of mid-range tailwind game where it's like, okay, what you want to do here is, okay, I'll lead Torn, and say I'm like a Sash Torn, and I actually have Glim in the back, and then, you know, if you lead a Fake Out, I switch in Glim, get the Toxic Spike up, and then I bring in Torn in like the middle of the game to get a tailwind up, and then kind of clean, maybe after a Swords Dance from Excalibur, or after I've gotten some spikes up with Samurott. Definitely, like, Torn is versatile, right? It can fit into these later game matches pretty reliably.
And one thing that you did remind me of the Toxic Spikes and the regular spikes from Samurotting more.
And it's not like they're worried about flying types.
No.
So yeah, I think it's pretty wide team, right? Like, Hatchrim is incredible. Snova's pretty good with Excalibur. You know, Sliggoo is good. I think it's annoying that they have these 3 Pokemon which all really appreciate EVL Light, because only one of them can run it in a game, but that's fine. It just means that you have a slightly less versatile team. You can maybe bring Snova without, but like Hatchrim without, it's like maybe you're on a Curva Cloak in a really bad matchup. That's about it. Where you need to like Terra defensively into something else, but then EVL Light is giving you a lot of the value of Terra defensively. Yeah. So like it's like a Chiyu check, but there's no Chiyu in this format, so is it a Chien-Pao check? Maybe. We'll see. And then Hariyama with it as well. Bexu Keriba. I don't know, seems fine. Team is seems very difficult to prep against, but might be easier to play against once you see the 6 that they've brought. Which definitely does make it seem like a wide team. Maybe someone like that. Because you really expect Excalibur to come every game. And maybe Samurott as well. Torn to come to probably like 5 or 6 of the games. If you're not bringing Torn, you're probably like going Trick Room. And the other ones kind of go on and off the team a lot. Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Okay. So all in all, this is currently what the team is looking like. A lot of tempo in this team, but more long game teams than the other section had.
Yeah, it's a lot of. There's not too much on like. There's not too many teams that are super long game.
And way less wide teams than last time. I think we must have had like 6 teams in this section.
Yeah, I think it's a side effect of the upgrade to the 25 points.
By last time, I mean the Landorus and Enamorous divisions.
Okay.
The video that will have come out yesterday to this video, but isn't out yet because it comes out after you wake up.
Then that is what's the word? It's a consequence of drafting Iron Hands in this division.
Yeah, it's the Iron Hands. That was the big change. You know, like Goose was one of the wider teams, but you know what? Iron Hands going was the difference. I like that. Are there other mons that like a difference between them?
I just wanted to point out Iron Hands still being on the board.
Oh yeah, trust me, I'm well aware. I've got a separate video coming out. You guys drafted you guys drafted so fewer of the top ends, right? Like no Great Tusk, no Iron Bundle, no Roaring Moon. So it's interesting that so many of them are top heavy. I think it's a lot of Pokemon around this area. So if we go here, let's just actually look here. Look at how many of these extra Pokemon have drafted in your division compared to ours.
Yeah, I'll let you in on a little secret. I drafted Torkoal first because I wanted to conserve points, but that's because I thought it was 110 points instead of 120 for the first 6 rounds.
No. Yeah, no, not quite that bad. I mean, that's fine. I think it's funny how wide it goes. I mean, obviously, you haven't heard what I've said about your team.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear.
So that's coming out in yesterday from this video. So let's advertise the content that's already out. And you know what? Thank you guys all for watching. It has been a ton of fun recording with you, Tux. And you know,
you too. Thank you.
we'll maybe catch back up with you in a video towards the end of the season and see how you felt. Or
Yeah. I'll see you when you cover my team in the playoffs.
all right, thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye. Waiting for you to say goodbye.
Oh, goodbye.